Thank you so much, Doc Tina. I hope that I am audible. Happy Women's
Yes, you
Month.
are.
Thank you. Happy Women's Month to everyone. Good morning once again. Next slide, please. I'd like to begin by emphasizing the critical role of women in the economy. Women are not only contributors to household well-being, but also drivers of broader economic growth. Evidence shows that women's income is more likely than men's to be invested in education, health, and community development, creating multiplier effects and strengthen human capital and community resilience. In the context of the Philippines, demographic transition with gradually declining fertility, longer life expectancy, and changing household structures, women's economic participation becomes even more significant. While the country remains relatively young, fertility rates have been steadily decreasing over time, signaling a shift towards smaller family sizes. As this transition progresses and the population begins to age, women increasingly move into productive roles, providing an opportunity for more inclusive and sustainable growth. Next slide, please. This connects directly to my work in Don Carlos, Bukidnon. Don Carlos is a rural municipality that has traditionally relied on agriculture but is now positioned to harness the economic potential of Bukidnon Airport. Our tourism master plan identifies Don Carlos niche assets, including natural attractions, festivals, cultural heritage, agriculture, and local businesses. Women are central to these assets. They manage local enterprises, led cultural production, and shape community-based tourism experiences. Supporting women is therefore not only a question of fairness, it is a strategic economic imperative. Tourism stimulates jobs, strengthens infrastructure, preserves cultural heritage, and drives complementary industries, but only if women can fully participate, lead, and scale these opportunities. Next slide, please. Complementing this, our work in PIDS focuses on women-led cultural MSMEs across the Philippines. To understand the challenges and opportunities, we gathered data through Policy Leadership Workshop series entitled Strengthening Cultural MSMEs Through Inclusive and Gender-Sensitive Policy Innovation. This series was organized by PIDS and the Philippine Apex Study Center Network in partnership with the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada and funded by the Government of Canada. Over the three workshop sessions from Quezon City to Nueva Ecija to Cagayan de Oro, we convened women entrepreneurs, government policy actors, local government units, universities, and MSME support organizations. Through policy ecosystem mapping, plenary exercises, reflections, and consultations, we gathered ground level evidence on enterprise realities, challenges, and systemic gaps. These workshops were crucial because they allowed us to triangulate evidence across regions and sectors, ensuring that our policy analysis reflects both lived experiences and institutional realities. Next slide, please. From this data, our PIDS policy brief, co-authored by Jean Claristi Carlos, Dr. Francis Mark A. Kimba, Dr. Karenina B. Romualdo, and myself, highlights the following key points. Persistent barriers at the enterprise level. Women face informality, limited access to finance and digital tools, and time constraints due to care responsibilities, which hinders scaling and professionalization. Second, fragmented support systems. National agencies, LGUs, universities, and business associations operate in silos, creating uneven access and requiring women to navigate complex networks. Third, policy misalignment. While laws like Magna Carta for MSMEs, Magna Carta of Women, and the Creative Industries Development Act exist, their implementation is uneven, leaving many women without effective support. Next, undervaluation and unfair competition. Women-led cultural enterprises face copying, market pressures, and limited recognition, threatening both income and cultural heritage. Barriers to formalization and scaling. Informality blocks access to finance, markets, and export pathways, and bureaucratic processes further discourage growth. And finally, digital divide. Many women use basic digital tools, but few can adopt advanced systems like cloud platforms or e-commerce, limiting competitiveness and market reach. Next slide, please. Our brief recognizes solutions across macro, meso, and micro levels. Macro strengthen law in the macro level, strengthen laws and market protections for cultural heritage, IP, and gender equality. For meso, build convergent infrastructure such as shared facilities, interagency coordination, LGO partnerships, and university support. And for micro, develop enterprise resilience through financial literacy, digital skills succession planning, and strategic agility. Next slide, please. The bottom line is clear. The Philippines does not lack laws. What is missing is coordinated, gender-responsive implementation that turns existing instruments into a functioning support system for women-led cultural enterprises. Next slide, please. And finally, I'd like to speak as a man. I want to emphasize that empowering women is not their responsibility alone. Men, institutions, and policymakers have a critical role to play, opening access to networks and resources, designing programs that account for care responsibilities, and valuing women's contributions as drivers of economic growth, cultural preservation, and community resilience. So let me just end. No, I know that it's already time, but whether in Don Carlos or across the Philippines, the evidence is clear. Investing in women is investing in the economy. Tourism, culture, and entrepreneurship are powerful engines of inclusive growth, but they realize their full potential only when women have the tools, agency, and support to lead. So the Philippines does not lack policies. What we need is to scale up the capacity of those who implement them. Gender responsive governance should not be treated as one-time task, but as a sustained way of working embedded in our institution. So if we are serious about inclusive and sustainable development, then empowering women must move from policy intent to everyday practice, shaping how we design programs, allocate resources, and deliver results on the ground. Thank you so much, and I look forward to our discussion later.